Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for each of you for being here. I'm joined with Chief Bryan and DA Willis. About 3 o'clock yesterday, I started a meeting with our Parks and Rec department to talk about improving, enhancing, and expanding our youth outreach programs in the recreation department. Halfway through that meeting, or near the end of that meeting, I got an alarming text message, and a lump in my throat occurred. It was a message that said a 6-month-old child had been murdered. And so I immediately got up and I went to the crime scene, and there another lump formed in my throat about this incident. As I saw the bullet go through the car and I saw blood on the scene, and you know the rest of the story. Gun violence is out of control, and we're going to put an end to it here in Atlanta. Less than 24 hours ago, this great Atlanta Police Department went into action on this case. When I arrived on the scene, our chief, several deputy chiefs, our major commander of that zone, detectives, a number of crime scene investigators, and officers of every rank were all out there doing an enormous job to solve this case rapidly. They were all over the place asking and looking for clues. They worked 24 hours nonstop until they resolved this issue. And now a suspect is under arrest. They worked through the night and through the day about this child as if this child was their own, because indeed every child in this city is our own. And I want to thank the men and women of Atlanta Police Department for their hard work all day today to get a suspect in custody. And that's an attribute to this leadership and to this great department. And the issue of gun violence is gripping this nation and is gripping this city. And I'm here to say right now, enough is enough. Enough is enough. This has to stop. It is a problem affecting the entire community, and therefore the entire community has to be a part of the solution. And so I'm asking each of you that is watching this, each of you that is hearing this, to please advocate for people to put their guns down and advocate for peace, and for us to resolve conflicts by de-escalating the actions that people are taking right now. I've already met with dozens of nonprofits and community leaders to enlist their help, and I'm asking you to join in that effort. If you have an organization, a nonprofit, somebody that's working with young people, young men, that you go to atlstrong.org/YMOC. That's atlstrong.org/YMOC, and sign your nonprofit up, sign your organization up, because we're going to ask for your help and your resources to be able to give youth and to give young men an opportunity to do something other than what some have chosen to do. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Bryan for information about this case and about this suspect that we have under arrest. But I don't want it to go unspoken that the hard work of Atlanta Police Department has been on display. In just 24 hours, we have a suspect under arrest. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to give my heartfelt condolences to the family. It is such a tragedy when we lose any citizen of this city. But when it's a child, it pulls even more at the heartstrings, not just of the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department, but throughout the community, as I've received numerous calls and text message and prayers for not just the men and women working this case, but for the family as well. As the mayor stated, on yesterday around 2:36, the Atlanta Police responded to a shot call on Anderson Avenue. Upon our arrival, this is where we encountered a child that had been shot and transported to Grady, where that child was pronounced dead. The men and women of the Atlanta Police Department and our partnering agencies immediately went into action to get as much information as we possibly could to resolve this case. And so I'll go down the list because I think it's important that you recognize these individuals and these units and the partnership that we had to get us to this place. Our lead investigator Sluss, and he was accompanied by Lieutenant Wofolk and Investigator Benton, who were out on the scene and scouring that scene very diligently to get as much information as they possibly could. Our intelligence analysts gathering as much information as they possibly could as this thing was unfolding. Our Homeland Security team, once we got information on someone that we were looking for, they were deployed and out gathering as much information as they could. Our gang unit got involved in this as well. Our communication, their quick action, they are so overlooked so often as it relates to but they are the first line of defense when something goes wrong in our city. Our field operation team, Zone 1 and Zone 4, responded to assist in securing a scene that was large. Our fugitive unit, U.S. Marshals and Georgia State Patrol, again, these were the units that deployed today to bring this individual into apprehension. The Fulton County DA's office, our strong partner who was out on the scene with us immediately after we received this call. Our crime scene tech who went through this scene diligently, gathering all the evidence that they could. And then the Fulton County, City of South Fulton Police Department who located the vehicle. You know, the mayor talked about our quick response and how we were able to apprehend this person within 24 hours. But the community was involved in this as well. They were the ones that reached out and were able to give us information that we had put out. But I won't cheerlead the fact that we were able to apprehend this person in such a short period of time. I'm mad as hell that the incident occurred in the first place. We're in a place where violence in our major cities and throughout our country has gotten out of control. And it's the community that can have a hand in this. We are seeing too many instances where people don't know how to resolve a conflict. And this is no consult. When the mayor and I were able to talk to the mother of this child, we were speechless. What can you say to a mother that's lost a child? To nonsense. To nonsense. We got to do better. As the mayor says, we got to do better. As a community, we cannot just leave this on the shoulder of the police department or the DA's office or the mayor's office or government as a whole. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to stop this foolishness that we're seeing. Right now, we have the Quavius Little, the Quasi Little downstairs. But I want this to be a message just not to him, but everyone that was involved on yesterday, that we are still early in this investigation. And anybody who think they will commit violence in our city, we coming at you with everything we got. Let that be a lesson to you. We're coming at you. And the strong partnership that we have in the city of Atlanta, there's nowhere that you can go. We'll continue to work hard and diligent, not just for this family, but for every family that fall victim to this senseless violence that we are seeing in our city.
First of all, I, like the mayor, want to commend the men and women of Atlanta Police Department. They did an amazing job in a very little amount of time. But I, like the mayor, am disgusted that this has happened in our city, really, yet once again. We're 25 days into this year, and 3 children have been shot in one of the greatest cities in the world. And so, as the police chief has already stated, that is simply unacceptable. But this is what I would like to assure the public, along with the police department. From yesterday when this happened until now, until this case is done in a court of law, we are working together hand in hand to make sure that incidents like this do not occur, and when they do occur, that people are brought to justice. on that scene immediately, along with his fine men and women who serve in the police department, was the Deputy District Attorney Lauren McCauley of the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, who has been working with the police to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted. This is a matter that is taken extremely serious, but it has to end. I already have in my office, before this child, 22 child homicides. It has to end. And so what we want the public to know today is that we are here in a united force, that the mayor called me, I think, at 10:03 last night to make sure that his police department was working in partnership with my office. We spoke again at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that this is a partnership that we plan to keep and to have until the problems that are facing this city and the rise in crime is stopped. And so I thank the press for being here today to report on this, because it is the most important issue going on in our community. So thank you.
Before we take questions, I wanted to also just say one more time that there's a life that's lost in our city. That life was only 6 months old. Grayson Fleming Gray did not deserve to die yesterday. Let that sink in. Share that throughout this whole community, that there's a mother and a father that Chief and I, just on the other side of a police tape, we had to talk to a family right after this incident occurred. They were bystanders. They had nothing to do with this. Innocent. And here they are with blood on their clothes and on their hands, and we're talking to them, consoling them, and letting them know that at the end of the day, we're there for them, and that we were going to bring justice to the people that did this to their child and did this to their family and ultimately did this to the entire community in this region. We will not stop until we stop this gun violence. It's got to stop on behalf of the family of Grayson Fleming Gray and all the other victims that did not have to die this way, and those that's been injured by others, innocent bystanders. We got to put an end to it. And we're standing here talking about this. Our tears overnight and our tears later today are going to motivate us to do more throughout this year and beyond. And with that, I'll take questions.
Can you all detail when and how you track the suspect down, and more on the suspect as far as charges, age, all of that?
Absolutely. Won't get into all the details on how we were able to get him. Again, it was in the partnership and the hard work of the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department, Fulton County DA's office, U.S. Marshal, and Georgia State Patrol. The individual is 22 years old. Again, his actions are not a surprise. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Chief, you said the community's help, was it identifying that vehicle, or just kind of, I know you
Calling in and giving us as much information as they possibly could. As we put out information, people were calling in and giving us as much information as they could.
And Chief, when was he apprehended?
Indicator.
Chief, 22 is really young still. Can you speak to that? Just a very young man killing a baby? I mean, it's just tragic.
Absolutely. And again, we see this time and time again. And many of the shootings that we've seen, especially when they involve very young children, it's young children doing this as well. And that's a problem that we're facing. As we are dealing with this pandemic, I think that we need to be addressing the pandemic of this violence that we're seeing as well. And when you are a 22-year-old, it's taking a life of someone 6 months old. He's disrupted that entire family for generations, and his own as well. And so that's why I think collectively we have to do better. We can no longer see this level of violence, particularly in the communities that we are seeing them.
Chief, are you looking for an additional suspects in connection to the crime?
Again, we are very early in this investigation, so we have the first person in this one, and we'll continue to go after others that we believe are involved in this incident.
Chief, you think there's others that were in that vehicle, or maybe, do you think this gentleman was the shooter, or the one?
We're confident that we have the shooter, and we're looking to gather more individuals that were involved.
The question the public's gonna have is about motive, like why were they in that area where they?
Listen, we're so early. We just got him in this building. He's downstairs right now. He's upstairs while we're down here doing this interview. That's how quick this case is evolving.
But anything you could say preliminary of why?
No, I don't think the DA would want me nor the investigators over here to my left to get any further into that case as it relates to that.
Chief, can you talk about, if you, and maybe the mayor as well, how you all are going to crack down on crime? You know, the general public, again, is seeing this case, what is happening. Reassure them or share with them what you can about how the department and the men and women of the force are going to crack down on senseless crime.
Absolutely. So, as you know, over the year and a half that I've been in this role, I've continued to leverage the partnership through law enforcement as much as I possibly can. And we continue to work very aggressively to doing just that. And I'll let the mayor talk about something that he's bringing forth, which is the nonprofit, which I think, again, will be that third leg to the stool. But we need the community to be involved in it as well. But I'll certainly let the mayor talk about the non-profits that he's bringing aboard.
In conjunction with Atlanta Police Department and, of course, with our DA and all the law enforcement partners, we know that one of the things that we have to do is prevent crime from even originating, at the root cause of crime. And part of that is making sure that folks know that they have a pathway to opportunities, that they have people that care about them, something that keeps them off the street, that prevents them from wanting to join gangs, get them from bad decisions that they may be making. And so when we have churches, and we have all sorts of people of faith and individuals that run organizations, nonprofits, our Parks and Rec organizations. All these agencies should do all they can to help keep these young folks occupied and with their eyes on the prize of being contributors to the community versus what you just saw in this case here yesterday. Having said that, you think about this individual is 22 years old. Just a little while ago, he should have been graduating high school and could be in a trade school right now, could be working a great job, making enough money to take care of families. But yet he's chosen to do what he did, utilizing a gun to settle whatever the issue was that made him choose that route yesterday. And by his criminal history, he's made other bad decisions. And so what I say to that is all the organizations that know how to communicate to these young folks, we got your back. We're doubling down, tripling down. I know that community. I grew up just on the other side. I mean, I literally grew up probably 6 minutes from that crime scene, and I live about 5 minutes from that crime scene. And so the organizations that are there to help, this administration is going to supply you with the needs that you have for your nonprofit, to help you with space, to help you with resources that may be helpful to keep young folks off the street. But also, we still have something for you if you continue to choose that violence is your best course of action. Well, you see within 24 hours that we are arresting you, and we're going after all your associates that might have been with you at the time of that incident. And so we're using both a balanced approach. We're going to make sure that we have something to give you a place to be in life. But if you choose another route, the men and women of the Atlanta Police Department and the law enforcement agencies around this region is going to make sure that we have some sort of semblance of decency around here. And so we're going to do all we can. That's why I'm asking clergy. We're asking people to pray as well. Pray for this city. Pray for this family. Pray for this time. And then let's put our hands to work and put our arms around these youth. So we're going to be doing that because most of the crime that we're seeing are people under 25 years old. 60% of the crime that we saw was conducted by individuals between 13 and 25. That's a societal problem. And so as a society, we have to solve it.
And Madam DA,
yes.
I'm going to cut you off, Mayor.
No.
And Madam DA, when those organizations don't work, hopefully they will the majority of the times, the mayor hopes, but when they don't work, tell the public what you plan to do to make sure that we're protected.
Well, there's two things, and both of them also involve the mayor and the Atlanta Police Department. One is we have taken a real aggressive approach towards recidivism or repeat offenders. And so along with the Atlanta Police Foundation, the mayor's office, we are now specifically tracking repeat offenders to make sure that they get the punishment that they deserve, that my office is tracking them from the onset so that we mark those defendants that have a repeat issue with violating the law so that the office knows that they are involved in this kind of conduct and that the steepest sentences are given to them as they've chosen this as their life of crime. Also, something that the mayor did not mention, in the spring of this year, the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, in conjunction with our newly elected mayor, will be opening up a court watch program. And that court watch program will be specifically to watch these repeat offenders as they matriculate through the court system to make sure that the judges, the district attorney's office, the Atlanta Police Department, and everyone in this community knows how serious not just us as governmental officials are about crime, but how fed up the community is. And so we are giving them that as an opportunity to get involved with making sure that these people are held responsible for their crimes. It is a new day. It's a new day in Atlanta. It's a new day in Fulton County. And we now have organizations as well as law enforcement and a mayor's office that are working together so that we can stop this issue of gun violence.